You put $50 into a separate account every Friday, and for the first 4 months, you feel almost nothing about it. No pride, no sense of progress, just a small mechanical transfer that happens the same day your paycheck lands, before you've had the chance to think about it, before the part of your brain that negotiates with itself even wakes up. It doesn't feel like discipline. It feels like nothing at all. And that absence of feeling turns out to be the entire mechanism. It starts on a Thursday night that looks like every other Thursday night. You're sitting at your kitchen table, laptop open, a half-eaten plate of pasta cooling next to you, staring at a checking account that never seems to grow no matter how much you make. You've had 3 raises in 4 years. Your salary has climbed from $42,000 to $58,000, a number that should feel like real progress, and somehow the balance in your savings account has stayed almost exactly the same the entire time, hovering around $1,200, sometimes dipping under $1,000 when the car needs something or a friend's wedding falls in the wrong month. There's no dramatic overspending you can point to, no secret gambling habit, no closet full of things with the tags still on. The money just goes, the way water finds every hairline crack in a foundation without you ever seeing the actual leak. You close the laptop that night more frustrated than usual, and it's that specific frustration, small and familiar, that has you scrolling through your phone in bed an hour later, half paying attention, when you land on a comment thread about something called the $50 rule. It's almost insultingly simple. Every Friday, the same day you get paid, $50 moves automatically into a separate account you never touch. Not enough to notice missing from your regular spending, not so little it feels pointless. Just $50 on autopilot, removed entirely from the part of you that makes decisions. You almost close the app and go to sleep. Instead, you sit up a little, prop your phone against your knee, and actually think about it. You think about every budgeting app you've deleted within 3 weeks, every spreadsheet you built with color-coded categories that lasted exactly 1 paycheck cycle before you stopped updating it. You think about how tired that version of you always was. The one who was supposed to check in daily, track every purchase, make 52 separate good decisions a year, and somehow never managed more than a dozen of them before giving up. And you think, almost as a dare to yourself, what if the whole problem was never you? What if the problem was asking yourself to decide anything at all? You open your banking app right there in bed. It takes 6 minutes. A recurring transfer, dated for every Friday, moving from checking into a brand new high-yield savings account with no debit card attached, no easy way to dip into it on a whim. You name the account nothing. Just leave it as the default label the bank gives it, because naming it feels like giving it too much significance for something you're not even sure will work. You set the transfer, close the app, and go to sleep without telling a single person what you just did. The first Friday comes and goes without ceremony. You get paid at midnight the way you always do, and by the time you check your phone the next morning, $50 has already left, sitting quietly in an account you'll probably forget exists by Tuesday. You go about your day. You grab coffee with your coworker Alicia, split an appetizer at happy hour that night, and never once think about the $50 that isn't there anymore. This surprises you more than it should. You'd braced yourself for some kind of friction, some Friday night pang of resentment toward your past self for locking that money away. It never comes. $50, spread across 7 days, works out to about $7 a day, roughly the cost of the coffee and snack you weren't tracking closely to begin with. The money leaves before you can develop an opinion about it. By the second month, something small shifts, though you almost miss it. You open the new account out of curiosity, more habit than excitement, expecting to feel underwhelmed, and instead find $400 sitting there. It's not life-changing. It wouldn't cover a real emergency, but it's more than what used to live in your old savings account after months of trying harder, and it arrived without a single Friday where you consciously chose saving over spending. The account grew while you were doing literally everything else. Arguing with your roommate about whose turn it was to buy dish soap, watching 3 episodes of something you weren't even that invested in, living your regular, unremarkable life while $50 quietly slipped sideways into a different column every week. Alicia notices around week 9, when you turn down a lunch order on a Friday because you'd already packed something from home, An unrelated coincidence she reads as evidence you're broke. "You good?" she asks, half joking, sliding into the seat across from you. You almost explain the whole thing. The $50 rule, the 6-minute setup, the account you're not supposed to touch. Instead, you just say you already ate and let the conversation move on. It's not secrecy, exactly. It's more that saying it out loud would make it feel like a bigger deal than it actually is, and the entire quiet power of this system depends on it staying small and unremarkable, even to you. By month 6, the account holds $1,300, already more than your old total savings ever reached in years of genuinely trying. The difference isn't that you've become more disciplined. If anything, you're less careful than ever about your day-to-day spending, still ordering takeout more than you should, still buying things on a whim you don't strictly need. The difference is that the $50 never enters the conversation anymore. It leaves before the conversation can happen, the same way your rent leaves, the same way your phone bill leaves, filed under obligations instead of choices. Then, in month 8, your car makes a sound it's never made before, and 2 days later, a mechanic named Robert tells you it's the alternator, $340 out the door. Old you would have paid this on a credit card and spent the next 4 months quietly resenting the interest. This time, you pull it from a small, separate buffer you'd almost forgotten building, and the $50 transfers keep running underneath the whole emergency, completely untouched, still moving every Friday like nothing happened at all. You sit in the mechanic's waiting room, scrolling through your accounts, and notice with something close to disbelief that the emergency didn't derail anything. The system kept running because the system was never depending on your mood or your memory to begin with. Around month 10, a habit forms that you didn't plan for. You start noticing other small, recurring drains the same way you now notice the Friday transfer. Not with guilt, just with a kind of plain, curious awareness. A streaming subscription you forgot you had. A $15 app charge you used exactly twice, back in February, and never opened again. You don't overhaul your whole life. You just apply the same logic that made the $50 rule work in the first place. Remove the decision, automate the outcome. Stop asking a tired version of yourself to remember things a system could handle instead. You cancel 2 subscriptions you'd meant to cancel for over a year and redirect that $22 a month into the same account. The balance crosses $2,000 around month 11, and for the first time, you actually feel something looking at it. Not pride, exactly. Something closer to quiet confirmation, the specific satisfaction of watching a thing you doubted turn out to be true anyway. You think back through every failed budgeting attempt that came before this one, and you realize none of them failed because you were lazy or undisciplined in some deep, permanent way. They failed because they demanded a decision every single day, and a system that requires daily willpower is, by design, a system built to eventually lose. By the 1-year mark, the account holds $2,847, 52 Fridays of $50, plus 8 months of 2 canceled subscriptions, plus a small trickle of interest from an account you nearly forgot was earning anything at all. It's not a fortune. It won't buy a house. It won't let you quit your job. But it's real, undeniable proof that something running quietly underneath your actual life, disconnected entirely from how motivated you felt on any given day, outproduced years of conscious effort in a single year of doing almost nothing. What stays with you, looking back, isn't the number itself. It's how little you thought about it while it was happening. You didn't spend the year feeling deprived. You didn't mourn $50 every Friday like some kind of weekly sacrifice. The money simply stopped being part of your daily decision-making at all, filed the same way your brain files rent or taxes. Obligations so automatic, they stop registering as choices. That's the real mechanism sitting underneath all of this. Not some magic property of the number 50, but the quiet removal of choice from something that used to demand it 52 separate times a year. You bump the transfer to $75 a week starting in month 13. Not because $50 stopped working, but because you've proven to yourself the system can absorb more without you noticing the difference in daily life.
A year later, a friend named Priya asks how you managed to save for a trip without seeming to try at all. She's expecting something complicated, some system with spreadsheets and categories and rules she'll need a notebook to follow. You tell her there wasn't one. Not really. $50 every Friday, moved somewhere you couldn't easily reach it, for exactly 52 weeks, until it stopped being a rule at all and just became how money worked now, running quietly underneath everything else, whether you were paying attention to it or not.